Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into a mystery that went unsolved for nearly a decade.
A really puzzling case.
Yeah. Imagine this, a quiet corner of South Salt Lake, Utah,
Okay.
a peaceful place, and you stumble upon a bookstore. Not just any bookstore, though. This one is called B&W Billiards and Books,
An interesting combination.
right? You got books and
Who
billiards?
would have thought?
Exactly. It was owned by Sherry and Earl Black.
A husband and wife team.
Husband and wife team. Sherry, now she was really the heart of it all. A beloved grandmother, big passion for rare books.
I see. Sounds like a charming place.
It was. Tragically, though, her life was cut short
Oh.
in a brutal and really baffling crime.
So we're dealing with a murder mystery here.
Absolutely. And what makes this case especially fascinating is the role of DNA evidence.
Okay, so DNA is going to be central to this story.
It is. From the very beginning, it was clear that DNA would be crucial to solving the mystery. But the path to justice, anything but straightforward.
I'm intrigued.
It was a real roller coaster. Dead ends, breakthroughs, eventually leading to the use of a groundbreaking forensic technology.
Are you talking about genetic genealogy?
That's right, genetic genealogy.
This case was a landmark example, wasn't it? Showed the world just how powerful this technology could be in cracking cold cases.
It really did. It kind of opened up a whole new era in criminal justice.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Let's go back to November 30th, 2010.
Okay, back to the beginning.
Earl had been out working on a job, and he came back to an empty house. Figured, okay, Sherry's probably at the bookstore.
Makes sense.
So he heads over there.
All right.
And that's where the story takes a really dark turn. Instead of finding Sherry, greeting customers, organizing books, he found something that would stay with him forever.
He found her body.
He did. Sherry was lying lifeless on the floor of the stockroom.
Oh my gosh.
The 911 call is, it's tough to listen to. You can hear the shock, the terror in Earl's voice. It's just a chilling reminder of how quickly and violently her life was taken.
I can only imagine. The police must have been under immense pressure to solve this.
They were. Right away, they faced a lot of challenges. Sherry and Earl, they didn't seem to have any enemies.
No motive.
No clear motive. Their life in that small town, it just didn't offer many leads to start with.
So, a real whodunit. But surely there must have been some clues at the crime scene.
There were. Even in the chaos, some crucial pieces of evidence emerged. A belt was found near Sherry's body. Bloody fingerprints on the stockroom door.
Okay.
And most importantly,
Let me guess. DNA evidence.
you got it, DNA from a bloody palm print.
Wow. So right from the start, they had DNA to work with?
They did.
Hmm.
These clues became like the cornerstones of the investigation. Offered some hope in what seemed like a really puzzling case.
Right, of course. But I imagine even with those leads, the early stages of the investigation were pretty tough.
They were. The police really looked into everything.
Like what?
Well, there was a customer who had talked to Sherry on the phone that morning. They looked into him. They even looked into individuals Sherry had helped put behind bars.
Wait, what? Why would she be involved in something like that?
Remember her passion for rare books?
Oh, right, of course.
Turns out that world, it has its share of secrets and shady dealings.
So maybe someone she crossed in that world was seeking revenge.
It's possible. And then there was Lauren Nielsen, a young man who had sold Sherry some stolen books. He had gang ties, history of violence, made him a prime suspect.
Sounds like they might have had their man.
You'd think so, right? But his DNA didn't match the evidence at the crime scene.
Another dead end.
It was. And this kept happening. A promising lead followed by disappointment as they had to rule out one suspect after another.
Must have been incredibly frustrating for everyone involved, especially for Sherry's family.
It was. They were desperate for answers. The police, they explored every angle. They considered if she might have been targeted because of her work uncovering thefts and forgeries in the rare book world. But again, nothing panned out.
So the case went cold.
It did. No match in CODIS. That's the Combined DNA Index System. It's a national database of DNA profiles.
I see. So they hit a wall. No match in the database, no clear suspects. What happened next? Did the investigation just stop there?
Not at all. The years that followed were filled with, just tireless efforts. Sherry's family, they created a website dedicated to her case. They put up billboards, offered a reward, anything to keep her memory alive and maybe generate new leads.
It's remarkable how dedicated they were to finding justice for Sherry.
It really is. And on the police side, Detective Ben Pender of the Unified Police Department, He took on a bigger role in Sherry's case around 2015. He really became committed to exploring every avenue.
Okay, so a new detective enters the picture, and this is around the same time that a revolutionary new technology is starting to make headlines: genetic genealogy.
Exactly. And Detective Pender, he was intrigued by it, decided to give it a try.
Now, for those of us who aren't familiar with genetic genealogy, could you break down how it works? Why was it such a game changer?
Sure. So genetic genealogy, it's not just about matching DNA to a known suspect. It's about using DNA to trace family trees.
So you're essentially creating a map of potential relatives?
Right. Imagine a website like GED Match. It's a public database where people upload their DNA profiles to find relatives.
Okay.
Now imagine taking DNA from a crime scene and uploading it to this database.
Interesting.
Suddenly, you have the potential to find distant relatives of the unknown perpetrator.
Because they might share some DNA segments, right?
Exactly. And that's precisely what Detective Pender set out to do. He started meticulously collecting DNA samples from distant relatives.
Right.
Traveled all over the country, knocking on doors,
Oh, wow.
trying to piece together this complex family tree that might lead him to Sherry's killer.
It sounds incredibly painstaking, and there's no guarantee it'll even work.
Right, but in this case.
Yeah.
Well, that's a story for next time. Join us then as we delve into how this intricate web of DNA connections led Detective Pender to a crucial lead: a distant relative in California who held the key to finally unmasking Sherry's killer.
Welcome back. When we left off, Detective Pender was following a lead thanks to genetic genealogy.
It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, isn't it?
Yeah.
Years of dead ends, and then boom, this new technology appears.
It was a game changer. And what Pender found in California, more than just a distant relative, it was a family secret that would complicate the case even more.
Okay, tell me more. What was the secret?
Well, the relative Pender met agreed to a DNA sample, and her son did too. But as they talked, Pender couldn't figure out the connection to Sherry's killer. Nothing seemed to fit. Then he casually asked the son, "Any chance you have an older child out there?"
Whoa. That must have caught him off guard.
It did, and that's when things started clicking. The son admitted that about 30 years ago, his high school girlfriend got pregnant and moved to Salt Lake City. He never met his son, but he had a baby picture, the name on it: Antonio Spencer.
Wow, what a twist. Pender must have been excited. A real connection to Salt Lake City. This was the break he needed.
It was. But, like any good mystery, there were more twists coming. Finding Antonio wasn't easy. Turns out, Antonio had been adopted. His name changed to Adam Antonio de Herrera.
So a new name, a new life. Did Pender manage to track him down?
He did, and this is where it gets even more interesting. Detective Pender started digging into Adam's background. What he found was disturbing. Adam's adoptive father had a criminal history of child sexual abuse.
That's chilling. Makes you think about what impact that kind of upbringing could have.
It's certainly something to consider. And there's more. As a teenager, Adam was in trouble with the law, attempted rape, aggravated assault, even making threats with broken glass. He had to give a DNA sample as a juvenile, but for some reason, it never happened.
It's crazy to think that if his DNA had been in the system, this could have been solved years ago. The justice system can be so complicated.
It can. But at this point, Pender had a suspect. Adam, 29 years old, living in Orem, Utah, not far from South Salt Lake. Pender was sure he had his man. He even found creepy posts on Adam's Facebook page. One was a meme about hiding bodies, posted on the anniversary of Sherry's murder.
It's unsettling, like a glimpse into a troubled mind. But remember, it's circumstantial. Pender needed solid proof to tie Adam to the crime. So what did he do next?
They put Adam under surveillance, waiting for a chance to get his DNA without him knowing. Their chance came when they saw him throw away a straw at work. Pender rushed that straw to the lab for analysis.
The pressure must have been intense. After a decade of hitting dead ends, they were close to a real answer. Did the DNA match?
In the early morning, Pender got a text that changed everything. The DNA from the straw matched the DNA at Sherry's murder scene. 10 years of searching, finally over.
What a moment for Pender. All that dedication paid off. But for Sherry's family, it must have been bittersweet. Relief, but also the pain of their loss coming back.
It was a complicated victory. And there's more to the story. Next time, we'll look at what happened after the DNA match. Adam's confession, the emotional sentencing, and Sherry Black's lasting legacy.
So we're back. We've been talking about the Sherry Black case, the twists and turns, and that incredible breakthrough with genetic genealogy.
And we finally have a confirmed suspect, Adam de Herrera.
Right. The DNA match. What happened after that? How did the police approach him?
It was October 10th, 2020. Adam was arrested at his job. And while they were taking him to the station, he told Pender he kind of figured out why they were arresting him, asked for a lawyer.
So he was lawyering up, ready to fight?
Seemed that way. But Pender, he took a chance.
What do you mean?
He knew he couldn't question Adam once he asked for a lawyer, but he decided to try something different, appeal to Adam's conscience.
Interesting tactic. How'd he do that?
It was a recorded interview. Bender told Adam that he understood he wanted a lawyer, but that he wasn't there to interrogate him. He said he just wanted to tell Adam what they knew and give him a chance to explain himself.
Basically, let's just talk.
Yeah, but he also emphasized something really important.
What was that?
He said that what Sherry's family needed most was to know why.
That's powerful. He was acknowledging the need for answers, not just the facts.
Exactly, and it worked. Adam decided to talk.
Wow. After all these years, what did he say?
Adam confessed to killing Sherry. He said he was angry that day, just snapped. He talked about his tough childhood, feeling lost, the anger building up inside him.
It's sad to hear. It doesn't excuse what he did, but it shows how complex people are, how unaddressed anger can lead to awful things.
It does. And his confession had chilling details that confirmed he was the one. Details that were never public. He talked about finding shears in the stockroom, attacking Sherry from behind, the brutal attack.
Did he say why he targeted Sherry?
This is the really sad part. Adam said it was Sherry's kindness that set him off, her concern for him.
That's tragic. A twisted reaction to someone trying to be kind.
It is. It shows how even good intentions can be misunderstood, and in this case, lead to something horrific.
So, a confession. But were there still unanswered questions?
Yeah, some. He was remorseful but couldn't fully explain what drove him to do it. Some details were unclear, and there are questions about other unsolved cases.
So even with a confession, there are missing pieces. We can't always understand why people do the things they do.
That's true. Adam pleaded guilty to Sherry's murder, sentenced to life in prison without parole.
So justice was served. But Sherry's family, they still carry the pain of her loss. How have they dealt with it?
They've shown incredible strength. They started the Sherry Black Foundation.
I've heard of that. What do they do?
They help other families solve cold cases and promote new investigative techniques, especially genetic genealogy.
It's a beautiful way to honor her memory, turning tragedy into something good.
They've become advocates for the responsible use of genetic genealogy. They see its potential to solve crimes, but also understand the ethical concerns.
That's so important. We've seen in this case, genetic genealogy is powerful, but it raises questions about privacy and how it's used.
It's complicated, no easy answers. But the Sherry Black case shows we need to keep talking about these ethical issues as technology keeps changing.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. We've learned so much about the crime, genetic genealogy, and what it means for solving crimes.
And I think it leaves us with questions to think about. How do we balance justice with privacy? What are the good things and the bad things about these new technologies?
Big questions we all need to be thinking about, and we encourage you to keep exploring these issues. Find out more about the Sherry Black Foundation. Talk about the role technology plays in our lives and in finding justice.
Knowledge is powerful when we share it and discuss it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's made you curious, made you want to learn more,
Keep exploring.
and keep diving deep. We'll see you soon.